Hello again. Several of y'all said that the first video was helpful, so I've decided to continue making these as I am able to. Please remember to click the like button and subscribe if you found this video helpful and would like to see more like it. This video will be over section 3.2, Homework, Graph Linear Inequalities. Let's get started. Some general notes about inequalities. There are 4 symbols: less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. Less than and greater than are graphed with open circles or dotted lines. This is because on a coordinate plane, they include everything up to but not including that dot or line. Less than or equal to and greater than or equal to are graphed with closed circles or solid lines, because they can be equal to that dot or line. If an inequality is in y is less than, y is greater than, y is less than or equal to, or y is greater than or equal to format, which I'm going to call y equals format for short, you can easily figure out the shading. However, if y is not by itself on the left side of the inequality, you must rearrange the inequality to y equals format in order to be able to graph it easily. If it's in the correct format, then y is less than and y is less than or equal to are shaded below the line. Y is greater than and y is greater than or equal to are shaded above the line. Be careful when graphing inequalities with a steep slope, as it can be easy to get above and below mixed up. This first problem is already in y equals format, because y is by itself on the left-hand side of the inequality. This question does not have an x. That means our line will have a slope of 0, making it a horizontal line. If you look at the number, that will tell you your y-intercept. For my problem, the y-intercept is -3. Before I can start graphing it, I need to figure out what kind of line I need to use: solid or dotted. If there's a line under the inequality symbol, that means it is equal to the number, and I need to use a solid line. If there's no line under the symbol, then it is not equal to, and I need to use a dotted line. My equation does not have a line under it, so I will use a dotted line for my graph. I need to place 2 dots to graph the line. I'll place the first dot on the y-intercept at 0, -3. Then I can place my second dot anywhere else on that same horizontal grid line. I'll place my second dot at 1, -3. Now I need to figure out whether to shade above or below the line. This equation says that y is greater than -3. Greater than means we need to shade above. To do that, I just need to add a third dot anywhere in the section above my dotted line. If your equation has a less than or equal to symbol, you'll need to shade below the line instead. This second question is similar to the first. We need to graph an inequality. However, this equation has a y and an x. Since it's still in y equals format, we can start by identifying the slope and y-intercept. Remember that the number in front of x is our slope, and the number by itself is our y-intercept. Our slope on this equation is 1/2. But we don't have any other numbers in this equation. That means that there is a hidden 0 at the end of this equation, making our y-intercept 0. Now I need to figure out whether I need a solid or dotted line. Since there isn't a line under my inequality symbol, that means it is not equal and I need to use a dotted line. If you have a line under your inequality symbol, then you need to use a solid line instead. I'll start by placing my first dot at the y-intercept. Since my y-intercept is 0, I need to place my dot at the center at the origin. Next, I can look at my slope to figure out where to place my second dot. My slope is 1/2. Since that's a positive number, I need to move up and to the right, or down and to the left. If your slope is negative, you'll need to move up and to the left, or down and to the right. We can easily find other points on our graph using the slope as rise over run. If your slope is a whole number, then put a 1 under it to convert it to a fraction. The number on top is the rise. My rise for this equation is 1, so I need to move up 1 square. The number on the bottom is the run. My run for this equation is 2, so I need to move right 2 squares. Remember that if your slope is negative, you'll need to move left instead. Now that I have my line, I need to figure out where to put my shading. This equation says that y is less than 1/2 x. Less than means we need to shade below. If you have trouble figuring out which section is below, look at one of the vertical grid lines that crosses your equation. If you want to shade above, put your dot on the top part of the vertical grid line. If you want to shade below, put your dot on the bottom part of the grid line. I need to shade below, so I'll place my dot down here. This question is different from the last two. It is not in y equals format. So the first thing I need to do is solve this inequality for y. Remember that solve means I need to get y by itself on one side of the inequality. Let's move to my scratch paper to work this out. My inequality is y minus 1/2 x is greater than or equal to 2. Remember that the inequality or equal sign is what separates the left and right side. If I look at the left-hand side, the only other term other than y is minus 1/2 x. It's being subtracted, so I need to do the opposite to cancel it out. So I'll add 1/2 x to the left side of my inequality. But if I leave it like that, I'll change the inequality and it won't balance out the same way anymore. Remember the golden rule of algebra. Whatever you do onto one side of an equation, you must do to the other side. This same rule applies when balancing out inequalities as well. Since I added 1/2 x to the left side of the inequality, I'll need to add 1/2 x to the right side of it as well. Now these terms on the left will cancel out. And since there's nothing on the right with an x, I'll just add it to the end of the inequality. Y is greater than or equal to 2 plus 1/2 x. Now I have the inequality in y equals format, and I can graph it the same way I did on question 2. The number in front of x is 1/2, so that's my slope. The number by itself is 2, so that's my y-intercept. Since I do have a line under my inequality, I will need to use a solid line to graph it this time. I'll place my first dot at my y-intercept. Since my y-intercept is 2, I'll need to place my first dot at 0, 2. Now I can use my slope of 1/2 to place my second dot. Since my slope is positive, I need to move up and to the right, or down and to the left. If your slope is negative, you'll need to move up and to the left, or down and to the right. And if your slope is a whole number, you'll need to put a 1 under it to convert it to a fraction so you can find your rise and run. My rise for this equation is 1, so I'll need to move up 1 square. My run for this equation is 2, so I need to move right 2 squares. Remember that if your slope is negative, you'll move left instead. Now that I have my line, I need to do my shading. The equation says that y is greater than or equal to 2 plus 1/2 x. Greater than or equal to means we need to shade above. Remember, you can look at the top of the grid lines if you have trouble figuring out which section is above the line. So I'll place my dot here, and this question is done. Question 4 is more of the same. it's already in y equals format. So I can see that my slope is -3. And my y-intercept is -1. Since there's a line under my inequality symbol, I'll need to use a solid line this time. If you don't have a line under your inequality, you'll need to use a dotted line. I can place my dot at my y-intercept of 0, -1. My slope this time is negative. So I'll be moving up and to the left, or down and to the right. If your slope is positive, you'll need to move up and to the right, or down and to the left. Since my slope is a whole number, I'll put a 1 under it to convert it to a fraction so I can find my rise and run. -3 is on top, so that will be my rise, and I'll move up 3 squares. My run is 1, and my slope is negative, so I'll move left 1 square. Remember that if your slope is positive, you'll move right instead. Now that I've drawn my line, I need to look at shading. The inequality is y is less than or equal to -3x minus 1. Less than or equal to means I need to shade below, so I'll place it on the bottom part of this grid line down here. Question 5 wants to know which ordered pairs on the graph are solutions to the inequality. Solutions to inequalities are located anywhere in the shaded area of the graph or on solid lines. If a dot is in the unshaded area or on a dotted line, then it is not part of the solution. Since this dot here is on a solid line, and all the rest are in the shaded area, all of my ordered pairs are solutions to this inequality. To enter my answer, I need to make sure I type them as ordered pairs in parentheses and separate each of them with a comma. A tip when you have this many ordered pairs to enter, count how many are on the graph and then how many you typed in, and make sure that you didn't miss one. Question 6 is a bit different from question 5. Instead of giving me ordered pairs on a graph, it's giving me just the ordered pair and the inequality and wants to know if it's a solution or not. I can easily solve this by plugging the coordinates into the inequality and simplifying it according to the order of operations to find out if it creates a true statement. Remember to use parentheses around the numbers when you plug them in. Remember that ordered pairs are written with x first and then y. When I plug these numbers in, I'll get -1 less than -3 minus 4. Since -1 is by itself over here, I can just drop the parentheses. There's nothing directly in front of or behind -3, so I can drop those parentheses as well. If you have a number in front of the parentheses here, you'll need to multiply the two terms together. Remember that if you have a negative by itself, you can treat it as a -1. Now I have -1 is less than -3 minus 4. Next, I need to subtract 4 from -3. To do that, remember we're subtracting, so we'll need to move left on the number line and become more negative. You can also think of it in terms of money. If I owe someone $3 and borrow 4 more, I owe more money and the total becomes more negative. Now I have -1 is less than -7, and I need to determine if this is a true statement. This is an easy one to get confused on because both of the numbers are negative and 1 is smaller than 7. Instead of thinking of just size, think of a number line. Less than really means less than or more negative than, and greater than really means greater or more positive than. So let's take a second look at this statement. Is -1 less than or more negative than -7? -1 is not more negative than -7. So this statement is false, and -3, -1 is not a solution to this inequality. This concludes section 3.2 homework, graph linear inequalities. Remember to like and subscribe if you found the video helpful and want more of these. And always be safe, be smart, and try to make wise choices.